For the next half hour, we'll help you catch up with all that you missed over the course of the day. Let's start with the headlines. Indian equity benchmarks fall for a sixth straight session, their longest losing streak in a month. RIL, ICICI Bank and SBI underperformed. The PNB fraud may force the government to re-evaluate its 2.1 lakh crore bank recap plan. Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister attacks the central government for not honouring the promises made in the Andhra Pradesh Reorganisation Act, says his party will take the right decision on the alliance with the NDA at the right time. Prime Minister Narendra Modi strongly condemns acts of statue vandalism, warns of stern action against those found guilty. And Donald Trump's top economic advisor, Gary Cohn, steps down even as the US president says he's not scared of a trade war. Let's turn to a check on the Indian equity markets, and they traded weak today. Navneet's here to tell you all that happened in today's session. Navneet, over to you.
Well, the selling pressure persists in the market, sixth straight day of selling, and the selling was actually across the board. So if you look at the benchmark indices, Nifty closed with cuts of almost 1%, Sensex also closing with cuts of about 284 points, heading closer to 33,000 mark. And once again, the losses were led by the financial SPAC. So the bank Nifty also saw sharper cuts coming about. Both the Nifty PSU banking space as well as the private banking space was under pressure. Well, the broader markets were too under pressure. We did see the advanced decline ratio deteriorating. Market breadth was once again in favor of the decline. So the BSE mid cap index was down 1.3% and the small cap index was down nearly 2%. This is the NSE stat which is showing you the market breadth. There was a yawning gap towards the end, clearly in favor of the declines. Let's look at a couple of losers then in today's trading session. On Nifty, Adani Ports and Indiabulls Housing were your top losers, whereas you also had ICICI Bank as well as State Bank of India, the two heavyweights both on Nifty as well as Bank Nifty, which dragged these indices lower. So SBI down almost 4% in trade and ICICI Bank closing with cuts of nearly 3%. In terms of some gainers from Nifty, ITC, the heavyweight, remained strong throughout the session, and the IT pack was actually bucking the trend. So HCL Technologies from there saw gains of about 1% coming about. Besides that, there were some gainers from the ID pack. Hexaware was up 3%. NIT Tech was the other one, which is the F&O stock as well. We did see both these stocks on the F&O side creating some fresh long positions in today's session. But the Adani Group stocks, they were down for the second straight session. The entire pack was down. Adani Enterprise is down 7.5%. Power down almost 7%. We mentioned Adani Port, which is a Nifty constituent, that was down nearly 7%. And you also had Adani Transmission, that also saw cuts of about closer to 7%. Well, the banking pack, there were some other losers as well from the likes of Andhra Bank and Canara Bank. Both of them saw sharper cuts of between 6 to 8%. And there were some last hour gainers in today's session. So look at Sagar Cements up 3.5%. VMart Retail, this counter has been outperforming. In fact, on YTD basis also it's up 30%. Just want to highlight the participation in today's session before I wrap. The turnover today was higher than yesterday. What increased was the NSE cash turnover and also the NSE F&O turnover, which was closer to 8.7 lakh crore.
All right, Navneet, thanks so much for that. And let's move on to another story that we have right now. And that's the top story that we have for you today. Protectionist trade measures are threatening to spark a trade war, but they haven't yet been cast in stone, and they are unlikely to derail the global growth story, at least not in the short term. That's according to CRISIL. What they could impact, though, is quite understandably the pace of growth of global trade, which had started to pick up. In a conversation with Bloomberg Quint earlier today, DK Joshi, who is the chief economist at CRISIL, spelled out the crucial drivers for India's growth, and one of them, he says, is the recovery in the global economy. Listen in.
I think for the world economy, we are assuming 3.9% GDP growth, which is the latest IMF forecast. And I think for India, we see the growth, the GDP growth at 7.5%. It is driven by the following factors. Number one, the recovery in global trade will also rub off on India. Because in 2017, we could not take advantage of the global growth because of domestic issues. The GST, particularly the issue of refund payments to the exporters, I think that got delayed, and as a result, I think exporters faced liquidity issues. and they could not take full advantage of the global recovery. So I think that scenario is improving. So the ability of trade to contribute a little more, I think, than last year, I think will be visible in 2018. So that's one factor. The number two factor is that, well, the base is very weak. I mean, so statistically the growth will look up. 6.6% is much below the trend rate of growth of India. So I think what we are saying is that from 6.6% it will go up to 7.5%.
In the executive summary page of your report, Mr. Joshi, you've mentioned one key point about and I want to understand from you the importance of this, resolving the NPAs through NCLT, especially from the steel sector, and the unintended consequences as well. We are in the midst of that resolution process. There are, of course, a bit of to's and fro's here, but in all probability, in a month and a half's time, or maybe 2 months at best, we'll probably see some conclusion to this whole process. Has it been a good one, and does it bring the dormant capacities, if I can use that term, firmly back into the fray? And how critical is that?
Well, I think it will. Well, I think it's important because I think it gives confidence to the overall market participants that the resolution process is underway, and we believe that it will begin with the steel sector, and its steel sector is one of the largest contributor to NPAs, and the conditions for steel are improving, the domestic demand picking up, and the prices in steel also have gone up. I think that also bodes well. So I think this is the steel is probably the first case for resolution, and once the biggies get sorted out like steel, I think others will also follow. Now that will actually will give a lot of confidence to the domestic players.
All right. India's gold imports are said to have slumped 31% in February. Imports fell to 67 metric tons last month from 96.5 in the same period last year. That's according to a person with knowledge of the Provisional Finance Ministry data who spoke to Bloomberg News. In terms of value, gold imports during the month stood at 14,820 crore rupees in February, as against around 22,000 crore in the corresponding period last year. Now, oil marketing companies have three factors working for them: rising marketing margins, stable refining margins, and higher crude prices, which will lead to inventory gains. Somat Sarkar has drawn up charts to show why the fourth quarter may turn out to be a good one for fuel retailers. Take a look.
Yes, they did remain flat in the last quarter of financial year 2018. As you can see in this chart clearly, how the gross marketing margin earned on sale of every liter of petrol and diesel by an oil marketing company was on a declining trend in the third quarter of financial year 2018. In fact, in the month of December, it was at its lowest point. But now, year to date, if you see, it has been on an increasing trend. It has increased in January, Feb, and in month of March, it is at its 9-month high. It is at around 3.6 rupees per litre and 3.3 rupees per litre, the level that we saw in July 2017. So what could be attributable to this rise in gross marketing margin is mainly the rise in retail fuel prices and the fall in Brent crude prices. And if you see in the fourth quarter of financial year 2018, the Brent crude has fallen by 2%, while our retail petrol and diesel prices have increased by 4% and 6%. Now this, compared to the last quarter, if you see, where in the third quarter of financial year 2018, where Brent crude had increased by 16%, while your petrol and diesel prices are hardly moved in that quarter. So what is happening in the fourth quarter is the rise in retail prices and the fall in Brent crude is giving the oil marketing companies some room to increase their gross marketing margins and to make up for the losses that the company faced in the third quarter of financial year 2018. Now this rise in gross marketing margin will mostly help BPCL and HBCL because the contribution of the marketing to their total operational side is more. They contribute around 55% and 45% to their operational EBITDA. Now, though oil prices have come off a bit in this quarter, but on an average, Brent crude is still higher compared to the last quarter. Now, in the fourth quarter of financial year 2018, the Brent crude has averaged around $67.24 per barrel versus $61.4 per barrel in the last quarter. Now, if you see in the past, generally, whenever the Brent crude has averaged more compared to the last quarter, the oil marketing companies, that is IOCL, BPCL and HPCL, have reported an inventory gain. As you can see in the first quarter of financial year 2018, when it had fallen by around 7% compared compared to the last quarter, all the three oil marketing companies had reported an inventory loss of total of close to 6,200 crore rupees. In the following quarter, when the Brent crude increased to $52.1 per barrel, they reported an inventory gain of close to 2,500 crore rupees. And in the third quarter, where the crude prices averaged at $61.4 per barrel, all the three oil marketing companies reported an inventory gain of close to 9,400 crore rupees. Now in this quarter, the Brent crude has averaged at $67.24 per barrel, 9.5% higher compared to the last quarter. So we can expect an inventory gain to come in from these three oil marketing companies. Lastly, if you see the gross refining margin, it has remained stable at $6.9 per barrel. This is the Singapore gross refining margin compared to $7.2 per barrel reported in the last quarter of financial year 2018. Now, but if you see the month-wise data for the fourth quarter, it has been on an increasing trend. In January, it had came in at around $6.2. In Feb, it increased to $7.5. And so far in March, it is around $7.9 per barrel. So what this higher or increasing gross refining margin means? It means that the oil marketing companies can earn more by processing every barrel of crude. So these are the three factors that are currently working for the oil marketing companies in the fourth quarter of financial year 2018.
The Delhi High Court has sought a response from the Enforcement Directorate following a plea by Nirav Modi's firm Firestar Diamond. The plea was filed against a money laundering case that was lodged against Firestar Diamond by the Enforcement Directorate in connection with the PNB fraud case. The High Court bench sought several documents from the ED, including a copy of the search warrants. These have to be submitted by the 19th of March. The court also ordered the compulsory presence of the officer that's been dealing with the PNB case at the next hearing. The bench, however, refrained from staying the proceedings. The ED had registered the money laundering case against Nirav Modi, his firms and others on the basis of an FIR by the CBI. And continuing with the PNB case, it may force the government to reevaluate its bank recapitalization plan. That's according to a senior government official who spoke to Bloomberg Quint. He said that 58,000 crore that the public sector lenders were supposed to raise from the markets is now under threat. Nikunj Ori sums up all the developments in this report.
The government may reevaluate its recapitalization framework for infusing capital in public sector banks for the next financial year due to the recent developments that have taken place in the public sector banking space, like the Nirav Modi scam and expectation of more public sector banks being brought under the prompt corrective action framework of the Reserve Bank of India, a senior official told Bloomberg Quint. Now remember, the government had announced that it would infuse about 2.1 lakh crore rupees in public sector banks in the current and the next financial year, out of which 1.2 lakh crore rupees would be infused in banks for the next financial year. Now, out of this 1.2 lakh crore rupees, public sector banks were expected to raise about 58,000 crore rupees from the market, and this would be difficult considering more banks are expected to be brought under the PCA framework of RBI. For the current financial year, things would stay as is, where the government has announced that it would infuse about 88,100 crore rupees in public sector banks through issuance of recapitalization bonds and through budgetary allocations.
Now, Reliance Communications has approached the Bombay High Court seeking to protect their lenders' interests. This comes after the arbitration court barred the company from selling its assets to Reliance Jio. The debt-trapped telecom operator plans to use the funds it receives from the sale of its spectrum towers and fiber business to repay the lenders. Bhuma Srivastav of Bloomberg News gets all the details here.
Reliance Communications' attempt to sell its asset have hit a fresh hurdle. It has got an adverse ruling from an arbitration court in New Delhi that bars it from selling its assets and puts a cloud over its deal with Reliance Jio. While Reliance Communication has moved the Bombay High Court appealing against this order, we yet don't know if they are on time to meet the March timeline they had indicated for closing the Jio deal. One other hurdle that they need to hop over is getting consent from their bondholders for an amended payback schedule, and that too is expected sometime towards the end of March. Our communications needs to go over both these hurdles, pass them before it can do the Reliance Jio deal.
Amid speculation that the Telugu Desam party could pull out of the NDA government, party chief and Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu today said that the party would take the right decision at the right time. Naidu lashed out against the centre, saying that it was insulting the sentiments of the people of Andhra Pradesh. He also said that the BJP government had not honoured the promises made in the Andhra Pradesh Reorganisation Act. He asked the Telugu Desam Party's MPs to step up the agitation against the government till it addressed the problems faced by Andhra Pradesh. Meanwhile, State Finance Minister Yanamala Ramakrishnadu indicated that talks with Finance Minister Arun Jaitley to resolve the crisis yielded no positive results. Now, the Union Home Ministry and Prime Minister's Office have condemned acts of vandalism reported in Tripura, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal and now Uttar Pradesh. The Home Ministry has also written to all states asking them to take necessary action to ensure that such incidents do not occur. The vandalism started in Tripura with Lenin's statue being vandalized in Belonia shortly after the left government in the state was voted out of power. It soon spread to the other parts of the country after a controversial Facebook post by BJP leader H. Raja, starting with the Periyar statue that was destroyed in Tamil Nadu last evening. Today, students at Jadavpur University in Kolkata are said to have vandalized a statue of Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, and another report of a statue of Ambedkar being vandalized by unidentified people in Meerut has also come in. Let's get you all the political leaders' reactions on what has happened so far.
किसी भी महापुरुष की स्टैच्यू को तोड़ा जाना, इसको कभी भी जस्टिफाई नहीं किया जा सकता। जो कुछ भी घटनाएं कुछ हुई हैं, बहुत ही दुखद हैं, बहुत ही दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण हैं, और इस संबंध में हमारी होम मिनिस्ट्री ने एक एडवाइजरी भी जारी की है। और इतना ही नहीं, बल्कि हमारी पार्टी के राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष ने भी कहा है कि यदि कोई भी किसी के संबंध में कोई शिकायत यदि मिलेगी तो आवश्यक कार्रवाई भी की जाएगी। और मैं सभी राजनीतिक पार्टियों से भी अपील करना चाहता हूं कि अपने अपने कार्यकर्ताओं को यह स्पष्ट निर्देश दें कि कहीं इस प्रकार की किसी हरकत में कोई इन्वॉल्व न हो। जो भी इन्वॉल्व होता है उसके खिलाफ कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए।
Next, they will start breaking the statues of Swami Vivekananda and Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose and Mahatma Gandhi. It's an absolute shame. In 2011, even we won the elections in Bengal, but there is a certain, we do not endorse the philosophy of maybe a communist like Lenin, but you have to win political battles.
We've all to be ashamed that something has happened to a leader like this, and this is the face of the true face of the BJP and the RSS. And I think the party has to take action against Mr. H. Raja, who tweeted saying now it is Lenin, next it will be Periyar. So he is the one who started this whole problem.
The government should be taking a very, very serious step forward to reach out to the opposition. When they did this kind of thing to us when we were in power, we always immediately at the highest level, the Prime Minister's level, would call the party leaders together, find an amicable solution, so the business of the nation should continue.
This looks like a digression from a discussion which is more important to Tamil Nadu right now. We will take care of the prestige of Periyar and his statues. Tamilians are enough to take care of it. We will take care of that. And his height is too far out of reach for these kind of petty talkers. Periyar, his stature and height is beyond reach of persons who indulge in such talk of vandalism.
Moving on to some global news now. Just when fears of a global trade war had started dying down, US President Donald Trump on Tuesday reiterated his intention to levy steep tariffs on imports of steel and aluminium into the US. He even said that a trade war wouldn't be so bad. Listen in.
Doing tariffs on steel, we cannot lose our steel industry. It's a fraction of what it once was. And we can't lose our aluminum industry, also a fraction of what it once was. We'll have to see. You know, when we're behind on every single country, trade wars aren't so bad. Do you understand what I mean by that? When we're down by 30 billion, 40 billion, 60 billion, 100 billion, the trade war hurts them, doesn't hurt us.
And just hours after that press conference, Donald Trump's top economic advisor, Gary Cohn, decided to resign. Cohn had been staunchly against the levying of tariffs. Bloomberg's Marty Schenker discusses the political and business implications of Cohen's resignation.
We heard this was coming. Actually, we've heard this was coming for months, and it hadn't happened. Now it has. What do you make of it?
Well, what I make of it is we reported a story this morning that said that if Donald Trump was going to impose these tariffs, which he was strongly against, that he would resign. Does this signal, in fact, that Donald Trump is not going to change his mind and impose the steel and aluminum tariffs? If you listen to Donald Trump today, he said he would. So out goes his chief economic advisor. I mean, if you're the chief economic advisor and the person you're advising is not taking your advice, it's time to go.
Gary Cohn is a Democrat. He contributed to Hillary Clinton's campaign. He was sort of an unlikely candidate for this job in the first place, you know, but he took it.
He took it.
You know, what do you make of it coming to an end so quickly? Though, you know, I guess supposedly in the context of some of these other positions, maybe it's not so quick at all. This
no, I mean, 1 year in the Trump,
an incredible amount of turnover.
Yeah, 1 year in the Trump administration is like 4 years in any other one. So, and given it, look, it was not a normal work environment in terms of presidential administrations. He did orchestrate the tax bill. He said that that was the reason he was there, to try and get that through. I could take some issue with it is truly tax reform, and there are a lot of people who are very critical of that tax package. So it'll be very interesting to see who replaces Gary Cohn in this administration, and what is he going to be part, or she? Are they going to be the free trade wing, or are they going to be the protectionist wing?
What do you suspect?
I suspect it will be more towards the protectionist wing.
And what does that mean for business? It
means, well, look, business. This has been a pro-business administration. The issue of being protectionist has not been tremendously fulfilled by this Trump administration so far. The tariffs are the strongest effort he's taken on that front. Is this Donald Trump doubling down on his rhetoric? It may very well be. And that will not be good for business, as the markets have shown.
Well, we know soon enough what he does on the tariffs. But meanwhile, and by he I mean President Donald Trump, has tweeted that he will soon be making a decision on the appointment of a new chief economic advisor. Now, on the sidelines of the Geneva Motor Show, Bloomberg's Matt Miller spoke to the CEO of Rolls-Royce Motors, who said that it is imperative to have free trade relations to have smooth passage of goods. Here's what he said.
The BMW Group is a major investor in the United States, not only when it comes to manufacturing facilities, but also for generating jobs. And I think brought lots of wealth into the United States economy. And for that reason, I think it would be very beneficial if we could keep these kind of open trade relations worldwide. And with that, I would love to leave it, because here it is Geneva, as you rightly said, and here we are for celebrating our Phantom in its 8th generation.
I have to say, I have been to the South Carolina facility, BMW. They export $10 billion worth of cars a year from the U.S. to other countries. So clearly, they're almost an American company, but Rolls-Royce is through and through an English company. You've got other issues to deal with, like Brexit. Does this kind of populist decentralization around the world concern you, or do your clientele simply buy what they want when they want it?
I mean, I always said, and I think that is true anyhow for quite a while, that Rolls-Royce is part of the British brand's crown jewels, if I may say so. And for that reason, Britishness is an inbuilt brand promise for Rolls-Royce Motor Cars. And the reason why we are so successful is also due to the part that we are fundamentally British, even me being a German as the CEO, if I may say so. And we want to stick to our guns, and we want to keep producing cars in West Sussex, in Goodwood, for very good reasons. So for that reason, I'm highly interested in free trade relations, also when it comes to Brexit or whatever, so that we not only have free flow of goods, but also, even more important for us, free flow of people, experts who are working in our facilities. And I'm still confident that we should see a proper, let's say, kind of agreement at the end of the day.
Well, that's Torsten Müller-Otzven there of Rolls-Royce. But with that, it's all that we have for you on this show. But there's a lot more coming up on the other side and over the course of this evening. Thanks for watching. This is Bloomberg.